Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to have a look at the release games for the PlayStation Vita. Now I think I'm going to have to make this into a three-parter because there's quite a lot of content, as we can see here. So we're going to use our original OLED model. This is my son's one because my one is not jailbroken and I couldn't be bothered hunting out all the game carts for the games. So we're going to look at the original Sony release titles and the third-party titles as two separate videos, I think. So in the Sony release titles, I think we've got quite a good lineup here. It's a nice mix. Okay, it is only 7 games. I believe there was 8 games. There was a golf game that came out in the US as well, but I didn't get that in the UK. So here's the games that were available on day one. Now I didn't buy all these games on day one. I bought Wipeout, Uncharted, Escape Plan, and I think that's all I got on day one. Soon after I got Super Stardust Delta, I'm pretty sure. A bit later on I got Mod Nation Racers, and right at the end I got Little Deviants and Hustle Kings, quite a bit after I bought the other games. So I think we'll just play through each of these games and see how they feel in 2023, now that the PlayStation Vita is almost 12 years old. So we'll try to start with the Escape Plan first. We'll click Start. And as you saw there, I used PKGG to download them, but as I've said earlier, I actually bought all of these games, either digitally or in physical release, back when the PlayStation Vita was new. The one thing I have noticed, particularly with the Vita, is how slow some of these games actually are at loading up. Maybe I've just got more used to PC gaming where stuff appears to happen pretty much instantly. As you can tell, I've got a screen protector and it looks a bit horrendous around there, but it does protect the screen, that's the main thing. So Escape Plan was a bit of a different game. It was Sony basically trying to show how to use the rear touchpad and the front touchpad together, and it was very much I think it was mostly a touch game. So stylistically this game is mostly in black and white, and I think it works well with the game. It says a touching adventure, you know, that's a hint at what you're going to be doing. Based on a true story? Well, not really. And it stars these two characters, Lil and Large. So literally you've got a skinny main character and a slightly round main character, and they work together to complete levels, or sometimes have to complete their own levels, but they do team up eventually. And what I quite like about this game is on their stomach they have like a number. They'll start with a 0, and as the game goes on, that's actually flickering on screen, by the way. It's part of the footage, not how I'm recording it or any fault with the device. So as you'll see, when Lil gets up, go on, get up. He's got a 0 in his stomach. That will not last long. He will soon get a 1, and then a 2, and then a 3. You tell him which way you want him to go, get moving. So you can use your right stick to move around. You want him to go to this exit. Off he goes. You can tap from behind, you can tap from the front. You get a different icon for each one. And you obviously get a star rating for how quick you complete each level. Obviously bonuses for not dying. So here you have to get him to walk on that bit, press X to make him stop, and out comes that bit there, so then you have to make him run across. Ah, he's going to fall. We'll try that again. I think at one point you can tap them to make them run as well. So that's going to slowly slide in, and he's going to just make it. This is quite a slow-paced game, but it does get quite frustrating at times when you can't see what you need to do. So in this one, for example, I'll give you an example of what happens. There's a box in the middle of the floor there. Let's tell him to walk. Who knew? He's made of glass. So that's the end of him. So now you'll see he's got a little 1 on his tummy if I was able to turn him around. So you have to push that away. It's actually quite a good fun game, this. And there's not a lot of visual clues on what you need to do next. Now there is a little bit of game load in between. So tap that, it says. So if I hit that way, it'll go that way, but you can tap it from behind and it'll come back the way. Same for the chair, the table. When you tap the table out of the way that way. Time to walk. So as a release title, this was probably a little bit... People were probably a little bit perplexed when this game came out, wondering why the heck was Sony selling people a mobile game for what was supposed to be a handheld PS3. But it is actually still quite a nice little relaxing game. It's quite good fun. So I think we'll chalk that one up as that was probably a must buy at day one. It's one of these little indie titles that you didn't really expect to be good, but it really was. So we'll go back to the release titles. And we'll skip Hustle Kings. It's another one of these mostly tap. And we'll try Little Deviants. Again, it's a mostly tap game as well. So here's our Little Deviants. Skip past that, I think. Again, another loading screen. I mean, by modern standards, the PlayStation Vita is pretty weak. I can play PlayStation Vita games, PS1 and PSP, so it's still pretty good. So we'll do story mode. You tap on there, yep. I will apologise, I've got the cold again. The joys of having little kids. Oh, play game. I'm kind of sitting off to the side from what I'm filming, so it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing on screen. There you go, another loading screen. Brilliant. So, you have deformable terrain in this game. So you have to get a Little Deviant who apparently can't walk. You have to get him to his destination by tapping the back of the screen. So as you can see, you push, now use my finger here, and push against the screen. Yeah. And then you tilt him where you want him to go. So well, it's quite a good test of the rear touchpad. It's also good. Oh, there you go, complete that stage in a flash. Now, I think I picked this game up when it was on special because it didn't look like it was a game I would probably play a lot. But being someone that wanted to support Sony at the time, I did generally buy most of the games as and when they released, or as and when I could afford them. Maybe not exactly when they released, but at some point, I tried to put some money in their pockets. And they rewarded that by leaving other loyal fans in the lurch. So it's kind of difficult to control. Well, with a little practice you get there. So what can I say about this game? Well, it's fiendishly difficult. Especially when your finger slides off the bottom of the screen or off the top of the screen. But it's alright. Not much more to say about that. If you want to find a game that uses your rear touchpad, this is probably the one. And I suppose it was very much a game that based on what people thought was just a quirk. And it kind of was. Not much more I can say about this game. Let's get to the next game. So what would be fun now? Let's try something like Super Stardust Delta. And this is good, it's a twin stick. One stick to control your little craft, one stick to control the direction that you shoot. Simple game, quite addictive. And so far I've shown you all quite small games that released on the PlayStation Vita. But after this one we'll go to one of the big hitters. And again, this is one that uses the gyroscope so you can adjust your view, which I think's quite good fun. Don't really need to. So left stick to move you around, right stick to fire your little gun. And it's funny. So this game, Super Stardust Delta, I think then spawned from an original Super Stardust, possibly PSP title I think it was, that was just a mini. And obviously gave it much more modern graphics, much more vivid. Really takes advantage of the OLED display, this one. And I remember putting quite a lot of hours into this. Again, this is one of these ones that you can, that you can play for hours and hours and hours on end. And your battery life will be brilliant, because it's such a basic game. So you get waves of baddies coming to get you, and these rocks that you have to blow up. You get pickups from the rocks. And some of these. Now it does have these periodic slowdowns, and I'm not sure if those are entirely because there's just so much happening on screen, or if it's slowdowns for dramatic effect. Good fun game this though, you could spend a lot of time playing this. And for what was basically a spin-off from a Mini, did a pretty good job. Okay, over to the next game. We'll do one of the big hitters, and I think what we'll do is Wipeout 2048. So this, I think, was the last big Wipeout game to come out. And I think it came from, was it Studio Liverpool? We'll see in a minute. Another game with quite long loading times, unfortunately. There you go, Studio Liverpool. So I think it was one of their last big titles before Sony shut them down. Again, another one with online play. So in this game you kind of pick your faction. And it's a frustrating mix of buttons and touchscreen. So here's all the races that you can progress through. We'll just go whatever's default. So right's for thrust, steering left and right, square for air brake, and you can use pickups or you can absorb them to repair yourself. And it's quite a slow loading game, this one. Now, what I will say is I have an FPS counter running on my daughter's Vita, although it has a fault with both the analog sticks, which I'm going to replace. I may do that in a later video. Unfortunately I had a bit of a fall before I purchased it and I hadn't realised both the sticks were a little bit wonky, so they're now being replaced. And in playing this game, I noticed... Oh, there you go, first. That's the wrong button. Pretty sure if you pull the left bumper you can give yourself a little bit more corner in. Now this was a game that I wanted to be really good at. It took me a long time to get mediocre at. And I would say I'm still pretty mediocre now. But graphically, I mean, it looks like it's really fast paced. It's running. Oh, there was a shortcut there, but there isn't. It's really fast paced, but believe it or not, this runs at 30 FPS. And the graphics are very, very colourful. But what they've done is use a little bit of softening technique, which just makes the games look even more vibrant. It's not too sharp, so that you don't see any pixels. It feels great. And the sudden changes in direction from up and down, that really makes the game feel ultra fast. And what I like about the Wipeout games is there's usually a shortcut in each lap, or each race I should say, and you can use those shortcuts to your benefit. And sometimes you have to when these other characters... Oh, I was going to go the other way. See that? But you've got to commit. Because if you don't commit early, it punishes you hard. And the audio in this game is always good as well. Banging beats. I think we're ready in the world for another Wipeout game. Come on, Sony, you know it makes sense. Give us another Wipeout game. There's a shortcut there. Now I believe there was some, I think it was on PS4, there was a remastered bundle, wasn't there, a Wipeout? That's not the same as a whole new game. I mean, I know Sony have not shown much interest in handheld devices, and now that you can get handheld PC like the Steam Deck, which is way more powerful than Sony have previously created in a handheld form, I don't know why they don't bundle up, you know, Vita titles in a means that they could resell them. Sell off a games bundle that includes 2 or 3 of these classic IP games for us PC gamers. Well, I wouldn't consider myself necessarily just a PC gamer, I'm just a gamer and I prefer handheld gaming, I have to admit. And I know there's an update of the PlayStation Vita emulator coming out very soon, which will include much more functionality and support. But then I'm not adverse to paying Sony a little bit of money to replay some of these games on PC. Oh, I forgot you can look behind. Yeah, that's good. So there you go, even though I was fairly mediocre and it was the first race, I managed to win it! Hurrah! I played this game to heck as well. I tried to complete it, but I never actually got there in the end. I think I got about 3/4 of the way through it. I might come back to it. Quite enjoyed that. Right, okay, next game. So, Uncharted, that's our last big game, so I'm going to play through the smaller games now. So we've got Mod Nation Racers left and Hustle Kings. We'll do Hustle Kings first because, well, it's not the greatest game ever. Graphically, it's very sharp, it looks really nice. Pool and snooker type games were never my thing, so maybe that's why I didn't like it. Again, it feels a bit too much like a mobile game. Oh, just pick a character, come on, let's get on with this. Quick play. And there's certainly a lot of options in this game. I suppose my problem is I like games you can just pick up and play, and this game you kind of have to be precise and take your time, and you can't really just blast through this game. Maybe you can, but I know I don't, so you play the cue ball straight away, see what I mean? And it is, again, a mostly touch game. Oh, use your right stick to move your angle and left stick to... I think you could change your angle at one point, but I'm not really sure. Ah, there you go. So you could work on your different angles. So there you go, that's you to pull your stick back. Blop, and that's me putting the ball. So it's okay. As pool games are concerned, it's probably not the worst ever. I think your best bet's going for an angle like this though. Oh dear, played the cue ball again. So anyway, there we go. Less said about that game, the better. So now we're down to Mod Nation Racers and Uncharted, and I think we'll finish on Uncharted because that is the best game of the Sony release titles, I would say. Wipeout a close second. This was a game that was also out on PSP. Mod Nation Racers was quite popular on PSP, I think. So this is Road Trip. It was supposed to be, I think people were expecting it to be quite an upgrade of the PSP version. I don't think it was. I think it was a game that was panned for being quite laborious and getting races started. Quite a lot of modern options, which, you know, these days people probably love, but because it's not the strongest hardware, you had quite a long wait time for the game to load. And again, a mix of touch and buttons, which is never great. Okay, how do we get just straight into a race? Stats, controller layouts, there's a lot of options here. Oh, none of them seem to do anything. What's that? Controller layout, don't want that. My local stats, well, we just want to get involved in playing this game. Start. Ah dear. Seems to be options along the bottom here. Oh, here we go. There you go. So it's left and right on the D-pad. Quick race, that's what we want. Wasn't the most intuitive of games, shall we say. I'll just turn on driver assist because I've not played this game for years. I mean, the benefit of the PlayStation Vita in its day was it was really quick to quickly stand by the machine and quickly bring it back to life. And when you do that, that's great. You can get straight into gameplay. So games like Super Stardust Delta, you can have that game ready to go, ready to rock. You get some game time in, 5 minutes downtime. Mod Nation Racers, not so much. Spend half your time getting the race ready. And this is what you got. Not a great feeling game. You can see why this was probably panned a bit at new. Mario Kart is not. I mean, you don't really get any feel of speed in this game. Even when you're boosting, look. Not like you do in Wipeout. Colours are not that vibrant. I mean, considering this is an OLED screen. I'm not speaking much here because I'm finding this quite boring. Also, there's not much in the way of guidance, is there? Now, this is the first race. It's just presumed you know exactly what you're doing. Less said about that game the better. I think if anybody bought that on day one, they'd be a little bit disappointed. Let's go over to the big hitter, Uncharted. Now this was the first Uncharted game I actually played. So although I had a PlayStation 1, and I didn't get a PlayStation 2, I got PSP, PlayStation Vita, I eventually got a PS3. I never played any of the Uncharted games. Now I have them all sitting on disc, ready to go. As I've told you in my previous story, when I picked up my Vita, it wasn't long after that the company Games Station was shut down, and I bought a huge backlog of PS3 titles. I didn't even have a PS3, just bought a huge backlog of PS3 titles. And then I bought a PS3. And I bought a slim model. Now I actually have a fat model, which I have recently, I'll say recently, a while ago, jailbroken. So again, I've got this huge backlog of games, but it's just like digging out the discs. I'd rather just download and install them and go. So that's why I've got an old fat boy model. It's not the backwards compatible one, but I did get a really good deal on it. We'll maybe have a video on that at a later date. It's not handheld though, so we'll see. My plan was I would remote it from one of my jailbroken devices. So again, this Uncharted game's really good, but it's a mix of touch, and I think that got a little bit of stink at the time. Graphically, I still think it holds up pretty well. I mean, I always loved the fact the gold they used in it, because obviously it's that sort of exploration game. You know, the golds were brilliant. I just thought, just pops on the OLED display. I'm not sure what it looks like on the LCD display, and I'll have to have a look at some point, but I always felt this game looked amazing. I just want to skip the movie. No choice. Because it's a loading screen. Now I didn't manage to platinum this game, I'm close to it though, and that was because a couple of trophies where you fall into a stage of water and you've been swept down some rapids and you have to grab certain things to get the trophies, and I missed out on a couple. What, this on day one though? You were very happy. As you can see, still a beautiful looking game considering this was a release title. Handles well. Gives you quite a lot of good information on what to do. Guides you through really well. Whoops. There you go, so it gives you options for things like lean. This is what you wanted from a release title. A game that really guided you through some of the early stages, just to get you used to all the functions and features. That was a close one, wasn't it? So, what I like about this is it you get the angle change to know where you're going. Oh yeah, you can paint your way up, that's right. Still a brilliant game. So you could turn it into quite a cinematic experience in a way, couldn't you, by just telling your wee man where to go, telling Drake exactly which path to take. Again, this is one of these games where they wanted you to have a bit of stealth. It's never the greatest at stealth. Let's just headshot this guy. Ah! Eek! There you go, that's right. You had to touch screen for some of your fights, which was great. You had to pay attention, but it was good. I don't think I really want a pistol, do I? I'm doing my big gun. Eek. Oh yeah, the screen goes dark. Fades to black and white as you get absolutely wrecked. Oh, and I've died already. At least the good thing with this game though is you can restart your levels quite quickly. But it does put you back a bit. Oops, you do get punished for not using stealth in some stages when they really want you to use some stealth. So, yeah, still a brilliant game though, I have to say. And another one that I'll probably actually play through after this video, just because I forgot how good this game was. So if you bought this game on release day, you were a happy person. If you bought Mod Nation Racers on day one, probably less so. So I hope you've enjoyed this little retrospective look back on games from the release day of the PlayStation Vita. Again, if you like what I do, please like, share and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.